Hi, welcome back. Today we're gonna build some ruins. I've used foam board and you can see the measurements on the screen right here. I'm using this stencil for the windows that I made that I think fits very good in this scale. Make sure to use a fresh blade when you cut out foam board, otherwise the edges will get uneven. Here I have cut out all the windows and I'm now going to glue it down to my base, which is also foam board. I'm just using a hot glue gun. I use my ruler to make sure that the walls are straight, and I use my 1, 2, 3 blocks for support. I'm now going to ruin the walls, otherwise it wouldn't be ruins. So here I'm just hacking into the walls wherever I feel like it. Make sure to watch your fingers and use a sharp blade. Here I'm just building the edges of the base to make it flush with the table. For the wooden parts I'm gonna use some balsa wood, and I'm just chopping away at it with my X-Acto knife and actually also with my fingers to make it look as worn as possible. And here I'm using my steel brush to give it some extra texture. When I'm happy with how it looks, I'm gonna glue it in using my hot glue gun again. I'm making some extra pieces of wood that I will use later in the build. Here I've just primed the entire build in black to get a nice even coat. And now for my favorite part of these kind of builds, making bricks. All my bricks are 1 centimeter times 1/2 centimeter, and I just cut them out of this XPS foam. This particular foam I've actually gotten from IKEA. It's used for insulating on the floorboard, so maybe you're lucky you can get it in IKEA as well. I know you can get it in Denmark and in Sweden. I will leave the product name in the description box below, and hopefully you can find it as well. Now I'm just taking all my strips and cutting them out to approximately 1/2 centimeter wide bricks, and just chop away so you have enough. And it's time to give the bricks some texture. I'm gonna put them in this tin and give them a good shake with some rocks, and you need to shake them for quite a while. Oh, forgot one. I always have a lot of extra bricks. And now for the fun part. I'm gonna glue all the bricks in one by one. I use wood glue, and here I will speed up the process quite a bit. This takes a long time, but I really enjoy the process. I put on an audiobook and then I just put on brick after brick. Around the windows I just overhang the bricks and I can cut them later on. Almost done, just need to fill out these holes. I'm just gonna do it exact the same way. I'm just gonna use wood glue and jam in bricks everywhere I can. As it's a ruin, it doesn't matter if it's perfect or if it's straight. And here I'm just cutting off all the excess bricks around the window so I get the window shape back. Again, use a very sharp blade for this. And I do the same thing in the corner. And this is how it looked after hours and hours of bricklaying. Time for a classic. I'm gonna paint it all with a PVA and black paint mixture to strengthen it and to make it more durable. Next, I'm gonna give all the bricks a dry brush, a heavy dry brush of gray paint. I'm just using cheap acrylic paint here. In order to give some life to the bricks, I've picked out 4 different colors that I'm gonna use to pick out and paint individual bricks. In order to blend it all together, I'm now giving it a lighter gray dry brush. You still need to be able to see the colors underneath, but just blend it all together with the light gray one. Next up, I do a very light gray dry brush, and I'm mostly concentrating on the top of the build and on the parts that would be hit by light. Here I'm using an off-white for the last highlights, and I'm going very gently and only at the tops and the places where light will hit. Next up, it's time to paint the wood. I'm just painting it all brown. Here I'm adding terrain group to the entire base. I of course forgot to film this, but I put the description on the screen, and let me know if you want me to make a tutorial for this someday. Here I'm just giving the brown some highlights with a lighter brown, followed by a light gray highlight, and then at the end a off-white highlight. When the paint is completely dry, I'm giving the entire build a black wash. This is just a homemade wash made from thinned down acrylic paint. You can dab off the exit with some kitchen towel if it's needed. Here I'm just painting the ground brown to get some coverage. While the paint is drying, I'm gonna give the corners and underneath the windows a green wash to simulate moss. Here I'm using some shadow wash from Army Painter to make some dark streaks underneath the windows and to deepen the shades. Next up, I'm going in with a green on the ground just to make sure that when I put my grass on later, it won't be brown all the way. I'm making sure to cover my workstation as the next step makes a mess. I'm adding a whole bunch of PVA glue. And here I'm sprinkling some coffee on the ground. Followed by the Woodland Scenics blended turf. This is by far my favorite turf. Make sure to get it all the way into the corners. And I decided to add just a little bit more coffee. And here I'm just going in with some extra bricks and some extra wood pieces that I made earlier on. I make sure to use a lot of PVA glue and just sprinkle it all with the turf afterwards to make it blend in. Now it's time for a good spritz of isopropyl alcohol. This breaks the surface tension so the PVA and water mix will soak in better. And here we go with the PVA and water mix, and I'll use a lot of this. Now I'm gonna make some moss. I just mix PVA glue with the turf and make it this gooey consistency and just smear it everywhere I think moss would belong. This is my puffer bottle, which is my alternative to having a static grass applicator. It works almost as well, and I really love the result. I'm making the grass very patchy, and I make sure not to do this all over the build. And here's how it looks. By the way, I did this while the glue was still wet. Here I'm adding in a lot of tufts. This is one of my favorite hacks. I have an old fan brush and I dipped it in green paint and I've let it dry. And now I'm just cutting off some of the bristles, dipping them in glue and adding them between the rocks as tall grass. I really like how this looks. Next up, I'm gonna add these vines. I've made a tutorial on how to make these and you will find the link for those down in the description box. You can make whatever size you want to, and here I'm adding a smaller one. The glue I'm using is still wood glue. And that's it, I'm gonna call this one done. Here I played around a bit with the light when I took pictures. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please like the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and see you in the next one. Bye!